For many people, video games offer an escape from the challenges and struggles of the real world. After a long day working to advance in your life, whether it be in your career, education, or everyday existence, it's nice to sit down and escape into a hobby where you don't have to think about the exhausting reality so many of us live. But what happens when that hobby becomes the very thing you try to escape? My name is Jake. I've been blessed to call playing video games my career now for the last 7 years, and at the surface, you'd probably say I'm pretty lucky. I've loved playing video games my entire life and saw YouTube as an opportunity to live my dream and have the freedom I've always desired. I dreaded the idea of going to work every day and spending my life earning a paycheck every week. After a number of jobs and intense college schedule, I thought my dream of working for myself in the hobby I enjoyed would never come. Thankfully, in August of 2019, my dream suddenly began transforming into my reality. After meeting someone I'm now lucky to call a friend, my channel exploded to what you see today. If it wasn't for people like Grant and Buck, links in the description down below, I would still be working for the man trying to earn my dues in an ever-increasingly expensive world. Eventually, I took the leap of faith into pursuing my dream job and dived headfirst into making YouTube videos full-time. At the time, it was a bit of a gamble. I wasn't yet earning enough to afford it being my only income, and I was cutting myself off from the benefits of a traditional career. Now everything was on me. No more lazy days at the office with a guaranteed paycheck. Suddenly, I was dependent on the ever so unkind YouTube algorithm. If my videos didn't perform, I couldn't afford to pay my bills, and the stress only continued to build from there. What was at first a sigh of relief and a taste of freedom that I had so long desired had turned into a daily challenge that slowly began eating away all my time and energy. Now, I'm not going to claim these challenges are exclusive to my experience. We're all forced into a system that demands much of our time and money just to exist, and that constant struggle is something we all face in our daily lives. Over the years, as my channel grew, so did the amount of time and effort it took just to maintain the bare minimum of what it took to survive. The inconsistency of progress and increasing cost of living was beginning to take its toll. Eventually, I was neck deep trying to tread water enough to stay afloat every day. It reminded me of when I first started my channel and that constant feeling of never being able to reach the level of stability I needed to feel comfortable. The more I began working, the more I began to sink, the more I continued to tread until it felt as though my entire life was being spent working just to maintain where I've been since the very beginning. The most discouraging part was having moments where I could easily swim through the waters and knowing it was possible, only to struggle once again. After years of battling the waves, I felt as though I was either still in the same spot or the shore had pushed further away. That's when the burnout began to take over, and I started wanting to sink just so I didn't have to tread the waters any longer. I knew it was important to stop and force myself to find something I could enjoy and take my mind off the exhaustion that I was beginning to feel. I started taking days off, doing anything to distract my mind, but there was always that feeling that I could and should be doing more. I fell into a rut of watching YouTube videos all day, just mindlessly consuming content, searching for a moment of peace and happiness. That's when I decided I need to force myself to step away from the computer as much as possible and find an alternative escape. But what could I do? Up to this point, video games was my escape, and I had built my entire network of friends around this hobby. I wanted to explore some outdoor hobbies, but never felt comfortable enough doing so without friends to enjoy them. For a while, I tried getting back into a few creative ventures that I once cherished during my time in college, but I struggled to find my rooting without any friends with similar interests in my area. I would try to force myself to create content on numerous real-world subjects, but never made substantial progress because in the back of my mind, these were still content for my YouTube channel. I couldn't turn off the part of my brain that demanded my every second be spent on something that I could turn into content. The fear of losing all the progress I had fought for and not being able to afford my living expenses otherwise constantly steered my every move. Eventually, I settled into a hobby that I enjoyed, and for a moment, things started to turn around. I began working out with a personal trainer and started getting interested in improving my health. I would work out a few times a week and go on daily walks or bike rides around the lake that was near to my apartment. I started feeling better physically and having more energy. I was still feeling the same burnout I had been battling, but at least now I had an outlet to help get it off my mind, even if for only a moment. But then my biggest fear became true. I was not making as many videos as I once did, and I hoped that even still, with more effort in each video, I could maintain the lifestyle I had really began to enjoy. Unfortunately, my bank account began to suffer, and I had to move out of my apartment and back home to the farm. Now, here I am, living with my family once again, and my entire routine uprooted. The hobbies I'd come to enjoy and the process with my burnout were both gone. A familiar stress settled in its place, and I felt I had no choice but to put my focus back on YouTube for a chance to afford the life I had come to enjoy. With my renewed focus, the burnout grew fast, and my bank account continued to suffer the consequences. It once again felt like an insurmountable task to maintain the work I needed to live a healthy and happy life I had only briefly tasted. I fell back into old habits of mindlessly watching YouTube videos and playing video games, trying to dull the sickness my burnout caused. After all, when you need to cut as many expenses as possible, YouTube videos and your Steam library are free and easy to indulge in. I continued trying to power through the burnout and work enough to fix my situation, but as time went on, my mindless escape mechanisms overtook my work itself. This was it. The moment I'd been desperately trying to avoid for so long. I didn't want to feel as though I had failed what was once my dream. I didn't want to give up the opportunity I knew I was incredibly lucky to have ever been given, but there was no other option. I signed up to LinkedIn and began the painful process of hunting for jobs. After hundreds of applications, months of interviews, and getting my hopes up, it once again started to feel hopeless. By this point, I was both excited for and dreading finding a new job. On one hand, it would give me more financial stability and the escape from my computer I'd been longing for. On the other, it felt like admitting defeat and placing myself back under the thumb of the man in a corporate suit. During this time, I completely stopped posting content on my channel. I just couldn't stomach making another video just to see it flop and my hopes and dreams wither away. My optimism and happiness were just as negative as the bank statements I was receiving on a weekly basis. And that brings us to today. My first week complete at my new job. I'm thankful to say the people are great, the schedule is flexible, and the commute is a short distance for living on the farm. I think I'm gonna enjoy this new job. It gives me an opportunity to put my mind to work on something different for the first time in 7 years, and even have a sense of camaraderie. It took a while and was a bumpy road along the way, but I believe I finally found the escape I'd been looking for. It's ironic that the very thing I was trying to escape previously is now my relief from the burnout and struggles I faced on YouTube. It's my hope that this change will help bring the stability and enjoyment I've been fighting for with my content in my personal life. I genuinely enjoy making videos on the video games I play, and I look forward to getting back into it after a little more time has passed. I guess when video games become your job might just be the hobby you were looking for all along.
Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and until next time, I'll see you all later.